Right, about midway through the 2024 season, I had made a video talking about how Oscar Piastri is the future of F1. Essentially praising the young Australian for being one of the best freshmen on the grid at the time, proving his worth alongside arguably one of the best drivers of the sport today. I intended this clip to be as unbiased as possible, but I feel I've already blown me cover in the first 10 seconds of the video. It, whatever. I think it's fair enough to say, considering Lando has gotten within touching distance of the championship this year. The first to do so in 3 years, if I might add. So keep your Lando lover comments to yourself, you bunch of loonies. What the was I talking about? God damn it. I have a stellar talent of completely diverging from the main topic of the video to spending 10 minutes of my day praising an overhyped 25-year-old lad and absolutely shitting on a 34-year-old Mexican. I promise, I will try to keep it to a minimum this time. The poor doofus has had it hard enough as it is.
Today was an incredible day for everyone. It's a historic moment, and for me to be a part of that is something I'll remember forever.
Honestly, really good. And we've done a small miracle, I will say.
Lewis drove an amazing race. He deservingly finished ahead.
I'm really happy with that, and mega job for the team.
Fair play to us. We've done really well.
We had one target coming in Abu Dhabi. Target was achieved.
Feels good. I think well deserved.
Very proud of everybody.
Yeah, it was a disaster, and
A weekend to forget.
certainly, yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, Piastri is a stellar talent, and at the time of me stating this, back in August, was it? I don't fucking know at this point. Past year's just been one big blur, if I'm honest. And it's not even the booze this time. Back then, he was on a performance streak of his life, it seemed like. The likes of 2023 Red Bull, having won 96% of the races that year. By the way, Perez ended that year with less points than Piastri has this season, and he landed in 4th. Goes to show that even when the Red Bull gang literally masked a fucking fighter jet as the F1 car, this fucking eggplant couldn't even get half the points his teammate did. God damn it, I did it again. Whatever, I tried. Anyways, as I sometimes, on a very rare occasion, tend to do, I overhype things. A little bit. And what happened shortly after I posted that video? Things started to tank a little bit. In fact, after Singapore, he was able to get on the podium just once. Once out of 6 races. It's not exactly Perez level. That dingus hasn't seen the podium since April. No wonder knew he jumped the ship. I also wouldn't want to be spending endless hours slaving away at the RB prototype all year for a team with only one functioning driver. And even that one is quite borderline, to be honest. He's performing, don't get me wrong, but calling him functioning is a bit of a fucking stretch. Anyways, unequivocally, all of a sudden, the young Aussie had run out of steam. And my mission today is to figure out why. Why such a superstar of a driver in a clearly competitive and top-level car is suddenly eating arse, collecting a grand total of 1 5th, 1 7th, and 2 8th places during the Tour of the Americas this fall. What the fuck happened? You know? Just weird. Now, I'm guessing we've already lost some truth warriors along the intro, already typing away in the comments, slapping their bony fingers to the beat of the kangaroo hopping outside their window, saying, "You're a daft cunt, Dion. It's not Piastri's fault, you fucking pommy did. It's the car. It's the car. It's the car." How the fuck y'all lot managed to say the word car in such a fucked up manner? There's an A in there, you fucking mongrels. But I have to say, you're likely right about that. Not the car thing, that's just fucking dumb. The McLaren had likely hit a bit of a slump in the latter part of the season, which was also mirrored in the other McLaren car, with Lando beginning to lose his absurd pace in the Drivers' Championship. Do you remember, back in the summer, he was on a fucking roll, man. I thought he'd probably take the lead by mid-fall. Oh, how naive I was. Never questioned the might of a fucking psychopathic Dutch hobbit. Also, in addition to the plateau of the British automotive industry, the Italians suddenly started to realize they're losing the fucking plot, and decided to start producing a car that more resembled a Ferrari than a Fiat 500. Probably just decided to shorten the lunch break to just 2 hours from the initial 4. I'd imagine before, the 10 a.m. breakfast would typically transition into a leisurely lunch, and then continue into a natural dinner, closing the day with some steady consumption of a bottle of wine per person and a total of 0 successful upgrades delivered to the Scuderia. Which was according to the general plan, that's for sure, but certainly didn't do Charlie's mental health any good. And so from then on, the Scuderia also began taking points away from both Norris and Piastri. But that wasn't the only reason why the Aussie was suddenly suckling on the rear of the guys out front. On their exhaust fumes, I mean, you know. because he was trailing behind like a dozen cars, trying to take them from behind. Take their position, I mean. For fuck's sake. Now, as much as I flattered my boy Oscar before and called him the wonder child of F1, he is still, unfortunately, lacking in some important aspects as a Formula 1 driver, specifically in qualifying. Somehow, when it comes down to just putting in that one solid lap, Oscar just fucks it all up time and time again, while his teammate is an absolute phenom in qualifying, arguably being his main strength. He's certainly the most talented at losing from first in 2024, that's for sure. But Oscar just seems to have trouble putting it all together when it matters, whether it is consecutive track limits, as was in Mexico, or just purely shit performance in Brazil off of the high of the sprint victory. There seems to be something lacking in the Aussie at the moment, prohibiting him from taking a crucial high place on the starting grid. And since he's not Mr. Rainman over here, going 17th to first in the span of 15 safety cars, 3 monsoons, and a sexual misconduct by the team principal, Piastri needs all the help he can get. I think another important topic to cover here is the mindset. Not necessarily of Oscar in this case. I think we'd established in my previous video that purely judging by his team radios, he is the reincarnation of the Iceman himself, giving less wordy answers than a sometimes groaning Raikkonen. More so, the mindset of Piastri, Lando, Zach, and the whole McLaren team. You see, in order to win a championship, a lot of things have to come together. In the case of Max Verstappen, all you need is a useless fart of a teammate and a rocket ship on wheels, whipped up by Newey, still buzzing off the monumental crucifixion they delivered to Hamilton at the end of 21. But for mere mortals, there are a lot of things that have to come together, in large part in the team itself. If the team as a whole, the management, the pit wall, the pit crew, if they don't know or aren't considering that they're fighting for the fucking championship, they won't put in that extra effort to get him over the line. Now, as marginal as that may seem, what often wins and loses championships are mere meters over the span of the whole season. And what that comes down to is the mental state and the headspace the team is in. And in the case of Piastri, although the McLaren team was thriving by the time they hit the summer break, riding the absolute high that was the sudden performance against the clear favourite on track, I don't believe this was the case in both of the McLaren camps. I think as in most F1 teams, there's a pretty clear number 1 and number 2 at McLaren. Oh, fuck off. Stop buzzing, you fuck. And while Piastri and all of us would like to see him fighting at the front, historically, championships are most often won by a team where there's a clearly defined leading driver and someone playing more of a supporting role. Because, well, it just works like that, doesn't it? It makes sense and the fucking data checks out. So stop asking stupid fucking questions, mate, alright? I can't just keep on blabbering on. I've got very limited space on my hard drive at the moment. Don't you fucking dare make a porno joke right now. Alright, so what do we have? A clearly stellar and talented young lad with massive potential in the sport, but he's got a few kinks on him, hasn't he? That he has to iron out. Stop texting me, mate! What the fuck? I'll text you back later. Jesus. Fuck. I'm just so popular, I can't keep people off me. Particularly his qualifying consistency. Without it, it will be real fucking tough to get even close to the British Muppet, let alone the beardless version of Ed Sheeran. Also, a lot will be dependent on the team next year to deliver him a car that is consistently competitive against the other lads. But since they've now come into some cash thanks to the Constructors' Cup, they should be able to cover it. As long as Zach doesn't spend it all on a multi-million-dollar F1 car collection for himself. Oh, he's already got one. I guess we're good. But importantly for Oscar, I think what he must do is just come out swinging next year. No matter what, the first few races will be crucial to set the stage in the team and the paddock overall. That placing in the first few races may set the stage for the remainder of the season and determine whether he will have any chance of competing for that Drivers' Championship. But holy shit. That just fell? That was way too strong of a statement, I guess. But who am I to judge? I'm just some goof talking to himself in a microphone at 3 in the fucking morning. You know, maybe I've got it all wrong. Maybe this 2024 season was the McLaren grand plan after all. I mean, it would make some sense if I'm honest. Once it was clear that Piastri was out of contention for the title, right around Singapore, that left just Lando with the golden ticket to try and dethrone the only other driver capitalizing on the sale of papaya-coloured merch in the weekend. And so Zach came down and said, Piastri, you have to be the sacrificial lamb, whether you like it or not, and always ensure to finish behind Norris to maximize his points. And then only at the end, when it was clear that Norris had fucked the dog on this one, was he allowed back at the front. Yeah, that makes total fucking sense. After all, that's exactly how Red Bull were able to secure their championships the past few years. And at the end of it all, I guess Perez was actually the ultimate team player. Turns out he's not just absolute dog shit at driving. No, he's just simply following the team's orders, being Horner's good little boy, doing everything that was asked of him by the team. What a fucking revelation. It all fits into place now. Or not.